Keep It Real on Keepin' It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to all of you across the country, and good morning to our West Coast listeners, and welcome to all those listening on Sirius XM, channel 126, Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm Dominique Sharpton. I'm the eldest daughter of Reverend Al Sharpton, and I'm National Action Network's Director of Membership. I'm sitting in for my father, who is scheduled to be joining us a little later in the broadcast. But we're live, coming to you live from New York City, from National Action Network's corporate headquarters in Times Square, and we are getting ready to keep it real this afternoon. For those of you who want to join us in this unique conversation today, you can call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Very good morning to all those watching and listening to us via live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net and joining our illustrious message board this afternoon. We got a lot to talk about and certainly want to get into the action with you. Will the Supreme Court use a Louisiana case, Will this Supreme Court use a Louisiana case to get the Voting Rights Act gutted? Shelby County versus Holder in 2013 weakened federal oversight of discriminatory states. The Supreme Court struck down the Voting Rights Act's requirements for states with histories of racial discrimination to obtain federal approval before changing voting laws, arguing that our country has changed, though it left Section 2 banning racial discrimination in voting intact. This is something we've got to pay very close attention to, ladies and gentlemen. Louisiana versus Calais now threatens Section 2 protections. So more than a decade later, this court is revisiting the act through a challenge to Louisiana's congressional redistricting map. Debating, of course, whether considering race in drawing voting districts is unconstitutional, a ruling that could dismantle many majority black districts nationwide. And we've seen this happening. In various states already where redistricting has happened, where they're starting to redraw the lines literally. And it is an impact, of course, to our voting rights. It's an impact, of course, to those who are displaced, those who feel as if, the marginalization of where we can vote and how we can cast our votes and who we actually vote for, all being challenged. And this potential nationwide impact, of course, on particularly black representation. Legal experts, of course, are warning that if Section 2 is weakened or overturned, states like Louisiana and Alabama could immediately redraw maps, casting doubts on dozens of black majority districts and also intensifying political polarization and further eroding protections of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And that Voting Rights Act that we fought so vehemently to accomplish, the victory in getting the right to vote, definitely opened a lot of avenues, of course, for people of color, for us to be really recognized. And it's still a challenge, right? So for us to be recognized in terms of how we deal with policy, in terms of being recognized on the political landscape, and not only getting the avenues to actually vote, to cast our votes, but to also present qualified candidates who look like us, to represent us in the neighborhoods and in the communities where we know counts most. And so this is a very, 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 very critical time, because a lot of our rights are being challenged. And so we've got to not only take action, we've got to be informed, and we've got to be about what we are going to do in order to really push for change. In other news, and saddened to say that we are receiving the news that, of course, The artist D'Angelo, acclaimed and reclusive R&B innovator, has passed away at the age of 51. He was battling, really dealing with a quiet battle of pancreatic cancer. And so we definitely give our condolences to his family. But the acclaimed neo soul singer, who found fame in the 1990s and early 2000s with an innovative and sensuous take on 1970s R&B, as well as with a risque music video that briefly made him a pop culture phenomenon. I remember that. I was a little girl, but I remember that video. But it drove him into nearly a decade of seclusion. And he passed away this morning. His death was confirmed in a statement by his family, which said, of course, the cause was pancreatic cancer. His biggest songs, like Lady and Brown Sugar. Those who can see, I'm wearing my Brown Sugar Babe sweatshirt today, in memory, of course, of D'Angelo. And he was truly someone who shaped the culture, who was an innovator, who was a barrier breaker. Are still at a stalemate over government funding. And with the Senate set to vote for the eighth time on today on a House passed GOP bill, Democrats are certainly insisting on the inclusion of health insurance tax credit extensions before agreeing to reopen the government. And this is very important. We understand, and Reverend Sharpton was talking about this. Those of you who are grateful and blessed to have the opportunity, as I do every Saturday, to hear Rev talk, on the broadcast at the Saturday Action Rally that National Action Network convenes. And he talked about this, right? Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. It's the same thing, same exact thing. We need health care. We need access to quality health care. And Americans should not have to fight or debate or be challenged when confronted with, do we receive quality health care, and how do we make that more accessible for all Americans? And Senate returns, of course, House is still on recess, but the Senate reconvened while the House remains out of session. However, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has called Democrats back to Washington for a strategy meeting, criticizing Republicans for being nowhere to be found and refusing to negotiate. Well, military pay protected and federal workers are still unpaid. As this continues to go on, President Donald Trump directed the Pentagon to use all available funds to pay U.S. troops, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, of course, confirmed that the Coast Guard members will also be paid, but most federal workers still remain unpaid until the shutdown ends. So this is certainly detrimental, and it's going to continue to drag on as long as there is a stalemate, as long as they are continuing to be in negotiations. We will continue to see the stalling of this happening across the country, and definitely it is detrimental, of course, to not only the livelihood of most of these federal workers, but also the future of how the democracy and how the government is actually running. So we got a lot to talk about, and certainly need to make sure that we keep our mental health in check. Those of you who were able to join us at NAN Youth Huddle last night, we were joined by Dr. Fields, Dr. Jessie Fields. She is one of the prominent community leaders and community physicians And she spoke about mental health and the importance, especially for young people and their parents and our families. But we've got to do our mental health check because there's a lot going on in the world. And so I hope that you take this opportunity to hear on Keeping It Real today. Check up on yourselves, make sure that we're healthy and we can move forward and come together to really get this work done because we got a lot to do and we've got a lot going on. I'm sitting in the hot seat for the Rev. He'll be joining us momentarily, but you can join the conversation right now. Call us at 1-877-532-5797 or you can join us on the message board. Watch us live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. But we'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
Please receive one of the greatest voices for the urban community. One, amen. Not them yet. This is one of the greatest voices, not many of the greatest voices. We're going to adjust the program quickly at this time. This man has spoken out. He stood on the front line. He has been a man for the people, of the people. Please receive Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Bishop. To the Franklin family and to all of us gathered, Aretha Franklin was not only an unparalleled artist, she was a civil rights activist and freedom fighter. It is easy to celebrate the gifts that God gives. It is more difficult when someone uses those gifts in ways that enhances humanity. Aretha Franklin was given special gifts, but she used it in a special way. And she would not want us to celebrate her without talking about she stood for something. She never shamed us. She never disgraced us. She never made us make excuses for her. She represented the best in our community, and she fought for our community until the end. I first met Miss Franklin when I was a teenager. I'd become youth director of New York Operation Breadbasket, and she would come to the strategy meetings with Reverend Jackson. And I would hear the stories of how when Dr. Martin Luther King could make payroll, Harry Belafonte and Aretha Franklin went on an 11-city tour to raise money for Martin Luther King. A lot of artists hang up Dr. King's photo, but Aretha went and raised money and gave it and worked free. Her daddy marched with Dr. King, and she never stopped supporting. As the years went by and I developed National Action Network, and she would call my radio show and have me come to her affairs. She called me one day. She said, "Rev Mal, I want to send you something." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "What's your home address?" And she sent it. About 3 days later, I got a check made out National Action Network signed by Aretha Franklin. I saw about a month later, I said, "You know, I was so blown away. I grew up looking up to you that I framed that check." She said, "Boy, don't you have a copy machine?" She said, "You don't know how I am with my bank accounts. You better cash that check." And but all of her life, she supported the causes. She was a feminist before feminism was popular. She was a civil rights activist when it wasn't popular. She gave us pride, and she gave us a regal bar to reach. And that's why we're all here. We don't all agree on everything, but we agree on Aretha. And she fought for everybody. I remember when we were used to picket, Charles Williams and all of us jumping on the record industry, she said, now y'all leave Clive Davis alone. He's one of the good ones. She loved Clive and said, we got to remember what happened to the Irish and what happened to Jews and what happened to blacks. And that is why we remember her legacy, because she sang a song for all of us. She was the soundtrack of the civil rights movement. If you track where we are, you can follow where Aretha had us. That's why when I look at her and James Brown, whose daughter is here, and others who paid a price, that opened the door, but never forgot where they came from. She was rooted in the black church. She was bathed in the black church. And she took the black church downtown and made folks that didn't know what the Holy Ghost was shout in the middle of a concert. You never saw her perform without her doing gospel, because she never was one to forget where she came from. And that's why we give her this great homegoing. We thank her for what she did with Dr. King. We thank her for what she's done with Reverend Jackson. We thank her for what she's done with all of us. And that is why, you know, the other Sunday on my show, I misspelled respect. And a lot of y'all corrected me. Now I want y'all to help me correct President Trump to teach him what it means. And I say that because when word had went out that Miss Franklin passed, Trump said she used to work for me. No, she used to perform for you. She worked for us.
Yes! Yes!
Aretha never took orders from nobody but God. So Aretha, as you get your rest, my mother passed about 6 years ago. President Clinton, my mother and I had a deal. She said, I'll meet you on the other side. You live the way you're supposed to, and I'll see you in heaven. I said, well, Ma, they tell me there is no bodies in heaven, just spirits. How am I going to know you? I know her sons are. How will I know her? She said, I tell you, you meet me at the exchange counter. I said, exchange counter? What kind of exchange counter? She said, well, right after you get through the Golden Gates, there's an exchange counter. That's where you hand in your cross to pick up your crown. We watched Aretha bear her cross down here. She had to sing with a broken heart. She had to work when she didn't get paid. She was a black woman in a white man's world. She bared her cross. She fought a good fight. Now it's time to crown the queen. I'll see you at the exchange counter where you can now hand in your cross. Ain't no cancer over there, Aretha. Hand in your cross and pick up your crown. As I take my seat, I've been asked to read this. Don't do that. because I only have 5 minutes and y'all will make me go into something else. Dear friends and family of Aretha, Michelle and I extend our heartfelt sympathies to all of those who gathered in Detroit. We join you in remembering and celebrating the life of the Queen of
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm Dominique Sharpton, sitting in for the Rev. Rev is going to be joining us momentarily on today's broadcast, but we are taking your calls across the country. You can join in on the conversation today by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And while I'm getting the callers up, someone's going to help me here in the studio get these callers up. I want to also say good afternoon to the message board. As you are watching us via live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. We are grieving and mourning the loss, of course, of R&B legend D'Angelo, who passed away this morning from a quiet battle with pancreatic cancer. We know that, of course, he has made tremendous contributions to, of course, entertainment and to the culture. And we certainly want to, give our condolences to his family and to all those who loved and believed in him, certainly giving our prayers and our condolences to them. We got a lot to talk about here, and certainly want to talk about it and have you join in on the conversation as we're waiting for the Rev to join us. And he is traveling. He'll be giving us updates from where he is, but he's going to Atlanta, where he will be convening and joining a panel on the documentary that's coming out on Andrew Young, civil rights icon Andrew Young. And as we are talking about what's happening with the Supreme Court in terms of the redistricting laws and things that are happening, as we are talking about, of course, the victory of the Voting Rights Act that was passed in 1965 that allotted us and gave us the rights to vote. We also have to, in the same conversation and in the same light, of course, lift up those icons, who really paved the way and who really made it possible for us to continue the struggle, for us to continue in the fight. And certainly Andrew Young is one of those iconic leaders. And so we are really looking forward to this documentary that's coming out that talks about his life, that talks about some of the things that he did, the contributions that he made to the civil rights movement that got us a lot of the privileges and a lot of the things that we are really appreciating in this moment, came from the struggle and came from the work of those like Andrew Young. So we're going to look forward to hearing those updates from Reverend Sharpton as he's live on the ground in Atlanta, Georgia. And certainly good afternoon to you, Lori Parks, listening, watching us on live stream. Thank you for your comments. Good afternoon, Evangelist Ramsey, my sister. I love you, sister. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Leslie Jennings. It is a beautiful Tuesday, and good afternoon to you. I'm wearing my Brown Sugar Babe sweatshirt, of course, in memory of D'Angelo. And we're taking your calls and taking your comments, and I certainly want to be about the action. And as we're talking about what's happening with the government shutdown, as we're talking about what's happening with the redistricting laws, as we're talking about, and this was to me very interesting. I heard about this, and Brother Fatine sent it, so I want to talk about it. How there's this video that the Homeland Security Secretary has released, Kristi Noem, blaming Democrats literally for the federal government shutdown and calling it basically these airports that they're, as you're going through TSA and you're going walking through the airports, you see the security videos, and this video was released, but there are no airports that are that are willing to broadcast the videos. Major airports like the Las Vegas Harry Reid, the Seattle Tacoma, Portland International, Charlotte Douglas, the 3 in New York. So a lot of the major airports are refusing to play the video, basically saying that it violates the Hatch Act, which bans political activity by federal employees and conflicts with state and municipal laws that, of course, prohibit partisan messaging on public property. And so to me, I'm just like, why are they stooping so low? Why is it that at the expense of the American people are we playing with politics? And I just don't really understand it. But maybe somebody can help me out here today, because I just don't understand what they were thinking when they recorded that video, that thought that this was going to actually fly and actually going to be impactful in some way. It just doesn't make much sense to me. And then, we're hearing the news, of course, that President Donald Trump did not get the Nobel Peace Prize this year. And many of you who saw online, Reverend Sharpton ran into our forever president. He's my forever president, if you don't want to claim it, but he's my forever president, Barack Obama. He ran into him while he and First Lady Michelle Obama were in New York City. And just to see that cultural exchange, to me, it really uplifted me in so many ways. To see that exchange, you just got two brothers dapping it up in the middle of New York City, just looking amazing and just really exemplifying Black excellence. And it really was like a showcasing for us that, no matter what we're going through, we're dealing with, we got people, we got leaders, we have those who are committed to this fight, standing up for us and speaking up for us when we're not in the room, that are really doing the work, that are really raising the bar and raising their voices to speak for us and to make sure that our issues are paid attention to, that our issues are at the forefront. And so that exchange to me, I don't know if y'all saw it. I saw it went viral, but that exchange to me was a real heartfelt moment to see President Barack Obama and Reverend Al Sharpton in New York City dapping it up, just catch it up and just say, a check for me, Ben. I got you. Come visit me when you're in town. And that camaraderie, that brotherhood, it really was symbolic to see and symbolic of the times that we're in. We need to unite. We need to hug one another and love on one another. As I said, check your mental health. We were talking with experts last night with the NAN Youth Huddle, and we have really got to really check in. We've got to do that work as well internally. And so that was an amazing moment. Those of you that caught it, I know that it's on our website as well. If you didn't catch it, it's on Reverend Sharpton's Instagram. But we've got to do more of that. We got to see more of that. That was Black excellence at its best. So check it out if you have not, of course, seen it. Somebody help me tell me what's going on with our callers. You can join in on the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. 5797. Nobel Peace Prize for a pause. Have they even signed the agreement yet? Real Talk 76. I have the same question. Thank you for raising that. And yeah, no, they have not. But they're talking about it. And we've got to see how that plays out, right? We've got to see what happens next. So it's great to say and to call for a ceasefire with over 67,000 people who have been killed, families, demolished, children, who have lost their parents who've lost their children. That's never an easy conversation to have. But to me, set up the plan, show me the plan of how we're going to not only cease the fire, but build back the relationships and build back these nations, and build back, of course, the structure that so many people are dealing with, the destruction. How are we going to restore that from this? It's a great, great, great thing to do, but we've got to really put that in action now. And I want to see that plan. I want to see how that plays out. So I agree with you, Real Talk 76, and I feel like we have a lot of work to do, but we've got a lot of information that we deserve to know. And so I hope that as people are, it is entertaining to, to see the pop-ups and, oh, I'm going to do this. And, oh, I promise to do that. The over-promising and the undervalue of how our democracy and how our judicial system and how our government is literally playing with lives. Never in America should we see this happen. And so I feel that we've got to really continue to make that resistance as strong as ever, as strong in the face of adversity, as strong as we know it to be, as strong as we saw it with Dr. King and Andrew Young, who were unapologetic in leading those efforts and leading the fight that got us to the Voting Rights Act, that got us to end discrimination, and that got us to ending segregation in the South, that got us to so many liberties that we are experiencing today. And so even right now, as you're sitting, if you're at work, if you're at school, on your job, at home, you are experiencing a liberty right now from the struggle of the civil rights movement. If you believe it or not, if you want to acknowledge it or not, because I know that I'm sitting here enjoying some of those liberties, and I know that we all are. And so we've got to really acknowledge that. And that's why I think it's important. I really commend those who are developing the documentaries, to hear the stories of those like Andrew Young, who paved the way, who did a lot of work. Young people and this generation need to understand and really learn those historic moments and how those historic moments came to be. And because they are taking history literally outside of our schools, we've got to do our due diligence in making sure that those stories are told and that we are a part of those stories, because guess what? We created them. It's Dominique Sharpton. I'm sitting in for the Rev, taking your calls across the country. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
But the fact of the matter is, Rosa Parks was not only the mother of the modern civil rights movement, she was the mother of this nation. Why would you say that, Sharpton? Because you called George Washington the father of the nation, but when he became father, we wasn't included in the nation. Women were not included in the nation. The first time we had a parent in this nation is when all of us was included, and Rosa Parks did that on December 1st, 1955. I heard somebody say Jim Crow is who she fought, and Jim Crow is still around. But Jim Crow is old. That's not who I'm mindful of today. The problem is Jim Crow has sons. The one we got to battle is James Crow Jr. Esquire. He's a little more educated. He's a little slicker. He's a little more polished, but the results are the same. He doesn't put you in the back of the bus. He just puts referendums on the ballot to end affirmative action when you can't go to school. He doesn't call you a racial name. He just marginalizes your existence. He doesn't tell you that he's set against you. He sets up institutional racism, where you have a nation respond looking for weapons in Iraq that are not there, but can't see a hurricane in Louisiana that is there. James Crow Jr. Esquire. That's who we got to fight. And if we are to win, if we are to really memorialize Rosa Parks, she would tell us to do in the generation of his son what she and Dr. King did to his daddy. They didn't talk a fight, they fought the fight. They didn't show up at funerals, they showed up on the picket line and the march line and the jailhouse. It amazes me that we sit there acting like we don't have work to do. And that many of us in our own community are mocking her memory. They formed a movement when they had none of what we got. You realize that Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy and them formed a boycott after Rosa Parks, where people stayed off the bus for a year, went to rallies every night, and they never had email, never had a cell phone, never could go online. Here you got 2 cell phones in your pocket, emails, computers at the house, and can't even get a block association meeting together. We got so much more that they gave us, and we're doing so much less with it. They went to vote when people were threatening their lives. Medgar Evers was shot dead in his driveway, left 3 children inside that never knew how it was to have a father in their adult years died to give us the right to vote. Pregnant women marched through the streets of Birmingham. They sick police dogs on them to give us the right to vote. 4 little girls bombed in a church in Birmingham, Alabama to give us the right to vote. And here you are 40 years later in Detroit, Michigan. No dogs biting you, no bombs going off, no bullets, too lazy and ungrateful. Making mockery of her memory. Making mockery of her memory. Nobody should have to beg you to vote. Nobody should have to beg you to stand up and protect the rights that they died and suffered to give us. You can't take care of one thing on the ballot in Michigan when they had to change the laws of all 50 states. You complaining about one referendum when they did a whole revolution and never fired one shot. And then you turn it around on each other. Why do I want my daughters to visit that stone? Because I want them to know black women are not hoes. You have music companies selling misogynist records to our children. Black womanhood was Rosa Parks sitting in dignity. She wasn't break dancing. She wasn't talking about pimp me out. She made the world respect her people. So I want to thank Reverend Jackson and Mrs. Jackson and others that taught us a little younger who Rosa was, and we got to pass that on. I want to challenge everybody here today that when we leave here, you ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to make one commitment in her name to yourself. That you're going to either join some organization or you're going to stand for some policy. You ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to resolve that you're going to do something that'll make a difference because we're here because she made a difference. Most people come and go and we never come to say goodbye because their hellos didn't mean anything to us. But we're here because she touched every one of us. And we need to make a Rosa resolution. I said to some of the young rappers the other day talking to me about, well, you get on us about calling women out their names. I said you need to come and know the story of a dignified woman. They make the excuse, Mayor Kilpatrick said, well, you know, we love Aretha and that generation.
I'm Dominique Sharpton, Reverend Sharpton's oldest daughter, sitting in for the Rev. Rev is going to be joining us momentarily, but we are taking your calls, and I'm going to get to the phones because we got folks holding on that want to chime in on the conversation, and you can do so as well. Call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Good afternoon to our message board as well. Let's go to Ozzy listening to us in Cincinnati on line 2. Ozzy, you're keeping it real, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dominic. Thank you for taking my call. I love talking to you and having conversations with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a delight in the daily chores of life to be able to have this time with you. I wanted to say something that it spans beyond gender, race, religion, political parties, and that is we've had some great African American men and women to take the reins and lead us through the turmoils of being black in America in the last 50 years, including your father. Um, and I'm going to also mention um, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And
Yes.
I'm going to also put in there uh, President Obama. And especially in the time in which President Obama was president in those 8 years, we had such hope that the generation, those who were young and born into them 8 years, would be able to grasp hold of the significance of his presidency and be able to advance by leaps and bounds beyond where we ever were, and for some of us ever thought we would be with having a black president and a black family in the White House. But that, to me, never has occurred. We haven't seen. I mean, those kids that were born in 2008 are now 17 years old. And I'm looking for the the young people to um, live up to our expectations and our hopes and our dreams of getting out there and fighting and voting. And I'm disappointed, not in them, but in us, those of us who are older than 45, those of us who are adults during this period of turmoil where especially with the likes of Martin Luther King and your father and Obama. And did we let our children down? Because one of the most important things we could have did for our children so that they can mimic the attitudes of those who have been successful was put them in head starts. And we failed to do that.
Yeah.
We have failed our children. And we can't blame nobody else. We cannot be narcissistic about this and not take responsibility for our actions because it's not too late. And at this time and period in history, do we need to lift up those who would be in 17 years from now, 17 years old and 22 and 25 years old?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
disappointed not in our children because they only eat at the table that we set before them, but we're the ones that set the table for
That's
them to
right,
eat at.
Ozzy. That's right. That's right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I always get inspired every time I step in for my father to host this show. I always learn something. I'm always, grateful for the opportunity to have meaningful conversation that's action orientated and to speak with action like minded individuals like yourself, who really tell it like it is, keep it real, but also, who speaking truth to power. And we need that in this moment. And yeah, I'm a parent. I'm a mother of a 6.5-year-old. I got to put the half on it because Marcus Al will tell me to put the half on his 6, so he's 6.5. But yes, I too am worried about well, what are they learning in schools? How can I help to cultivate his mind? Just because he's Al Sharpton's grandson, don't mean he gonna learn all the Black history facts and everything that he needs to know to be a well-equipped and functional individual, knowing who he is in this world. We've got to do the work at home. We've got to do the work taking them to church. We've got to do the work bringing them to institutions. I remember when I was a kid, they had the PAL and they had community centers that were open, where we can go to do our homework and stuff after school. Now our parents have to pay a fee, or we got to, so there's those community organizations and those community institutions are wavering, and we've got to do our part to bring that community back, to instill in our young people that community matters and that community is important. And so that's why I do value organizations like National Action Network, not just because of its founding principles that is related to me very closely, but because I have seen the work, and I've been involved. And it matters and it makes a difference. And so I agree with you, Ozzy, and I thank you for keeping it real. Thank you for your call, and keep up the good fight and keep the pressure on. Let's go to Dantes, listening to us in Cleveland on line 5. Dantes, you're keeping it real.
Oh, that's all. He didn't say you couldn't.
Dantes, you're on the air. You're keeping it real. Hello.
This is Dantes. Yes, this is Dantes Taylor.
How you doing? You're on the air.
I'm doing good,
All right.
and I would like to find out some information about the 5-year-old young girl that got her hair uh uh taken out, and it was an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and 10-year-old, and I want to reach out to the family and
Where
see
was
what
this?
I can do.
Is this in
This is
Cleveland?
in Cleveland, Ohio, on
Wow.
St. Clair.
Mm-mm-mm. Well, I know that. Thank you so much for your call. I know that the good work of the National Action Network, and my sister Marcia McCoy, and they're doing Reverend Cavanis. They're doing great work for the Greater Cleveland chapter. And so I encourage you to get in touch with my sister Marcia McCoy, and let's get on those issues and dealing with what's happening to our young people out there. Sister Anita, I see you holding on line 4, listening to us from Chapel Hill. You're keeping it real, sister. Good afternoon.
Hi, uh, Dominique.
Hey.
What I want to say, I heard you talking about mental health. After some guy stabbed a lady on a bus here, just out of the,
What?
I don't think yeah, she was from Ukraine, and he just started stabbing, and they said he had mental health problems. So Governor Josh Stein, who is a Democrat, he wanted to do some work on mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you talking about mental health, and I think Governor Pritzker also should help mental health too, because these things are important, and people are having problems with adjusting to modern day progress. We
Yes.
think that what we went through as slaves didn't prepare us for modern day progress, but we know the tedious, tiny steps you have to take to progress, and all the stress and all the other things that are affecting us. And some people just snap under the pressure, and we were conditioned by God to
Mm.
be able to handle that pressure. So Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer spiritually got us across over to Grandma's house. And the other people have to learn to use their spiritualness instead of just, oh, it's a horse, I'm going to get it across. No, you have to use your spiritual life. And this is why people are snapping and popping. They're trying to do things outside of the natural order of God, and that's going
Mm.
to cause the stress. And on top of that, intellectually, women have to graduate from being in the home raising just children and in the workplace, but combine both, do both. My family always required me to be a mother and to have other things of interest. And we need to do that and work on our mental health. But don't forget Governor Josh Stein, and North Carolina is hanging in there for the Democrats, as well as Governor Pritzker. And we have to thank God for them, because they're taking a lot of mental health pressure off of us. And that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. I think you're right, and thank you for sharing that as well. I remember the incident here. A young brother was on the train, Jordan Neely, on the train, and matters were were taken into their own hands, and he lost his life and was dealing with mental health issues. And it's something that definitely sparked outrage, not only in New York City, but to deal with the mental health and to deal with why there are not enough resources and opportunities that are available in our communities to get help. But I hear the music. Sister Anita, thank you for your call. We're taking your calls across the country. Reverend Sharpton will be joining us momentarily, but you can join the conversation right now. Call us at 1-877-532 5797 1-877-532 5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
Keep it real. Baby face.
Everything step I take, you will be there. Every step I make, we'll be together. Every step I take, you will be there. Every step I make, we'll be together. Every step I take.
Whew. Thank you so much. I was thinking I was going to prepare a speech, but I can't read those things anymore. Name's Babyface, not Baby Body. But I wanted to. I mean, you made me sound so good with those words. I was like, that was me. I was like, when I look at my life and I think of the music and everything that I've done, I used to say that I don't know where it came from. I don't know where the words come from. I don't know where the music comes from. I don't know how I got here where I am, but that's not true. God got me here. This is and it becomes more clear to me every day that's why I'm here. And I don't even know how I ended up standing here, except for the fact that I ran into Al at the Essence. He was walking in the room, and I said, I got to go say hello. And he said, I want to honor you. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, I want to honor you. I said, really? Yep. And here I am standing here, and I can only thank you. I always want to do this, Michael. I love you too. Sorry. But I think of moments like this, I can't help but just think of how proud my mom would be for me to standing here. I have to say that just to be standing here and to be invited by Al Sharpton, and I want you guys to really think about this man who invited me here and how he has been fighting the fight for us all of these years. I don't think we give him enough credit. I don't think we give him enough love. Sometimes you just get used to people and you think, well, that's just Al. No. He's more than that. I want y'all to give him really love. Come on, let's give him. It's very true. Because I can remember times, I'm 67 years old, I can remember times in Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah, it's true, I'm 67. And I can remember times in Indianapolis when I was growing up, and there were places before I was 5 years old that I could not go to because I was black. And I remember how civil rights, how that changed everything for me and for my life, and that I'm standing here today because of all of those changes, and I was able to do the kind of music that I do and do everything because of those things happened. And so for me to accept an award like this, because I've never gotten an award like this before, and so I really appreciate it, and I'm just so thankful, and I thank my mom for giving me the sense to always be humble with my life, and to never think that it's all about me. And so like I said, I didn't prepare a speech. I always just wanted to speak from my heart. And I'm speaking from my heart, and I want to tell you once again, Al Sharpton, You are a blessing to us all, and I thank you for inviting me for this, and thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thing past hope, because I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare, and my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out, but she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilly is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things not seen. Faith is when we were emancipated after 246 years of slavery and walked off the plantations with no education, no money, no future. And we built black churches and black colleges and black fraternities. We had faith. Faith made us stand up to the most powerful nation in the world and turn it around. Faith means we went from the back of the bus to the front of the White House. We come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He never failed us yet.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight in the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started at Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, that ACP would have been formed together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation. Then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. Black America, Ben Crump.
Commitment to justice.
And I'm probably going to need your help on this legal fight. You know, they shorted the historically black colleges and universities to the tune of about $13 billion, and Tennessee State was the one they shorted the most.
Absolutely. Well, let me know. I'm on the next plane as soon as you holler. You know, when Ben Crump called, I don't even question it. I just head to the airport and get the details on the way.
Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. Keeping it real. And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al.
Miss Dominique, is still you today?
Yes.
Okay, you're live.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm Dominique Sharpton, Reverend Sharpton's eldest daughter, sitting in for the Rev. Rev is in Atlanta, just touching down, so he'll be joining the broadcast a little later. But we are taking your calls across the country. You can join in on the conversation today. Call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can join us on the message board, watching us via live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. And Real Talk 76 on the message board. I don't know what you're talking about, black folks having to sit something out. Unfortunately, he said, I think black folks, go to that comment so I can read it, are going to have to sit this one out because we're a distraction. They don't see themselves in us, so we can't block the mirrors. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm black and I ain't sitting nothing out. I'm going to be all involved, all hands on deck, all 10 toes down, because I am about this revolution, okay? You hear it. And I'm going to be a part of the action and making sure that when my son gets old enough to understand what's going on in the world, he can look and say, look what my mama did, what my auntie did, what my grandfather did, what my dad did, what my cousins did. They were involved in making sure that I had the best future possible. So that's why I'm in the fight. I don't know about y'all, but it's personal for me. And I'm going to be about it and do it and say what I say I'm going to do and be what I'm going to say I'm going to be. Because I'm going to be about it. And I feel like we've got to come together in this moment. We've got to unite. We've got to stay active. We've got to stay involved, and we've got to do our part. So if you can please justify what you are talking about, Real Talk 76, that would be great for us. But let's talk to Demetrius. Always a pleasure speaking with my brother Demetrius, listening to us from Cleveland. He's on line 3. Demetrius, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon, my brother.
Good afternoon, Ms. Sharp. It's good talking to you.
Same.
I give my sympathy to D'Angelo's family
Yes.
as well, because he did have a unique style of singing. You know, he could improvise different type of voices. You know, he worked well with Raphael Sadiq, and also I think he was married to Angie Stone, and they made a good combination, because she really put out songs that uplifted people, especially the black man. So both of them, they're in the same place now. So
It's wild how only a few months apart, and they went. He went only a few months after she did. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So they have peace now. They left a nice legacy behind, even though their lives were taken away too soon.
Absolutely.
But I would like to speak on concerning the Supreme Court decision they're going to make concerning the Louisiana Voting Rights Act. It seems like to me, you know, there's still discrimination here in the United States, especially when it comes to voting. When you have the gerrymandering intentionally being used, you know, to segregate certain people, voting power, even though we have the right to vote. But at the same time, if the districts are being drawn up where our vote won't count, it'll keep certain people in the power. that's that's um that's neglecting, the rights for people to vote. You
Right,
know,
right,
they just like going back to the Jim Crow laws when people could vote because they had to count how many jelly beans in a jar.
mm-hmm,
You know, it's unthinkable for somebody to be able to do that. It's unthinkable for somebody to have the right to vote when they being segregated to only a few votes. I mean, people in the same district is being outnumbered by people in a larger district because of the lines.
mm-hmm,
So the Voting Rights Act should still stay on the books and should be enforced. And Louisiana and other states shouldn't have the right, to draw the lines to benefit a certain district or a certain group of people.
right,
And
right,
also when it comes to the stalemate with the budget, I believe it's important, that Donald Trump can have money to go to the military, so he should have money to go as well to other programs, especially when it comes to the health care and when it comes to HUD as well.
mm-hmm,
Because with HUD is being defunded, that affects not just the housing, but it affects people. The HUD is for urban developments. That affects the street improvements. That affects a new hospital being built. Medical facilities, anything that does with the urban area. So a lot of those programs would be cut down. And the people being fired, to me unjustly, they're gonna make it difficult for people, to get their jobs back, and also, those who still gonna remain, we won't be able to handle the overload of requests of the people who need assistance. So there will be a fewer people that take their calls and answer their letters,
right,
and it'd be a rise of probably different type of environmental problems, diseases, because HUD being cut back in the urban development, what's gonna happen to the environment? It comes to the sewers, need to be replaced.
mm,
When it comes to like what happened in Flint, the water program in other cities,
yes,
from
yes,
Jackson, Mississippi, they won't get the proper funding. And that's gonna leave many children, who live in homes that have like asbestos and peeling paint, that have lead, poison. All those programs is funded through urban development, from my
yes,
understanding.
yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes.
and
Great point.
about the energy. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that's
And
great points, and that's what I'm saying, educating us, because that's a great point right there. And we're not looking at the sources of the funding. We're talking about the resources that we need, or the resources that should be allocated to our community, but we don't really tap into where that funding is coming from, how that funding is allocated, and then, as you were saying, how all of these things are combined, together, or go hand in hand. And so it is a major power play, but at the expense of the American people, at the expense of Black and brown people, at the expense of, those who are willing to stand up and fight back, but those who are also willing to go to the polls and vote. They're trying to literally take our powers from us, knowing that, people are not happy with the way that things are being governed. People are not happy with the way that life is happening. And so they're going to get up and exercise their power, exercise their privilege. And if they can cut that away from us, then we won't have any to be able to exercise. So it is a power play, and it goes hand in hand. But go ahead, Demetrius. You spot on with that, brother.
Yeah. Because I agree, because it's a power play at the expense of the struggling people, middle class, and the expense of the poor.
Mm-hmm.
Because the budget they want to pass, they're going to give tax breaks to the big corporations. But yet, the people who make a minimum wage, or people in the middle class, they would have to pay higher premiums on their health care. And that's going to cause some people, not be able to pay certain bills if they have to go to the emergency,
Mm-hmm.
have a long um, stay in the hospital if they have to buy medication, or do it through a prescription. And also going to affect prevention.
Yes.
People who would go in and get screened for breast cancer, for colon cancer, prostate cancer, and other diseases, or just get immunizations.
Right.
They're going to say, well, no, I'm not going to go if I have to pay this. I might not catch the disease.
Right.
So it probably be a rising disease because people don't want to take the chance. That they know they have to pay for going to the hospital. They're going to say, well, why? I might not catch the disease anyway. So they're going to play Russian roulette with their health,
Right.
all because of the government don't want to allocate money to these programs. They can allocate money, to the corporations, and to me it's just looking down on the struggling man as self-centered by those who in the corporations and the super wealthy, who don't care. Yes, some wealthy people do care, but those who endorsing this bill knowing it's going to affect the working class and the poor, and to me that's self-centered, and the working class and the poor usually the ones that voted these people in office. But yet they're looking for themselves, benefit themselves once they are in office.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so that's basically what I wanted to say, Ms. Sharpton. So thank you very much for letting me speak, and you take care of yourself.
Thank you, sir. And you take care of yourself, and thank you for your call. Demetrius is spot on, as he always is. Thank you so much for raising those issues. It goes hands in hand. And we can't be mesmerized by the power plays. We've got to have the power and strength of our own, right? And raise up in this moment. Hear that music, so we're going to take a break. Rev is going to be joining us. Rev is on hold, I'm hearing. So it's been a pleasure speaking with you all this afternoon. But we'll be back. More of Keeping It Real with Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back. More of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not going to throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people, and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
for a new course, a new coalition, a new leadership. Somebody got to rise above race, rise above sex, a new leadership, a choice, a chance. Don't cry by what you don't have, use what you got. Everybody in town was scared of Goliath. We got more and more folk and fewer services. We cannot stop. We got to rise on higher. Little David. Little David. Little David. Took off his unnecessary garments. Little David. Didn't want to get weighted down with a lot of foolishness. Little David. Took what God gave him, a slingshot and a God biscuit, a rock.
I got a Tony.
You got it? My daughter won a Tony Award.
That's crazy.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI diversify. It's not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and our host for the day, Dominique Sharpton. Dominique,
I'm here, Rev. I'm here. Good afternoon.
I am in Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, we are at Clark University with a fireside chat with Rachel Maddow is here, and we will be having a fireside chat with the one and only Honorable Andrew Young. And we're going to be talking also with John Hope Bryan and about the documentary on Andrew. A lot of us miss history and miss the struggle and how people play different roles. And the role of Andrew Young as a top aide and Dr. King through the Selma March and through the Birmingham bombings and all is our history. As we are now facing a Supreme Court hearing on tomorrow on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So this is not a more appropriate time than now to be talking about they're trying to take our right to vote. The whole world is watching what's going on in the Middle East, and I think it is good the hostages are back. It's good that they have released the Palestinian prisoners, or many of them. But how long will that peace hold, and what will it become? We do not know. But at the same time that they're fighting, and Trump is so far dealing with the Middle East situation. What about home? What about where he's been elected president, where we have a shutdown of the federal government and where they're trying to take our right to vote? The last part of the entire Voting Rights Act, because if this Supreme Court guts the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, it will in effect overturn, I guess is a better term. It will overturn the whole Voting Rights Act. So it's an appropriate time to remind people of the struggle, the bloodshed, the death that was incurred to get it. And one of the architects of it was Andrew Young. So I hope people come out tonight and see this fireside chat and the documentary, which will be shown on MSNBC, that Rachel Maddow was executive producer of, is on 9 o'clock on Friday night. But stay with me, Dominique, and let's go to the phones. I'll hang with you. I'm riding in to Atlanta, so I'm going to depend on you to be my eyes and ears as we go forward.
Got you, Rev. Let's go to line 7 to Disco Brian. Listen to us from Philly on WURD. Disco Brian, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
Hello, precious Peabody Award-winning extraordinaire Dominique. It's my first time actually talking to you.
No, it's a Tony Award.
Tony. I was going to let you finish, though. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Get her award right. She's a Tony Award winner.
Okay,
and
Peabody is next.
Eric Garner's mother's a Emmy Award winner. Yes. So I got everybody done won Emmys and Tonys. They in entertainment. They got me still in the struggle, running up and down the road. So I don't know, Disco. You might have to come give me a job. Everybody getting these entertainment awards. I'm the only one doing full-time civil rights, but that's what you got to do.
I love it. Well, the most important award to get is a Triumph Award. And Rev, I don't know how that works, but after we discussed that lyric that Taylor wrote, maybe consider her. I think she would show up for it, and I think it would connect the all of her fans, which is more than Joe Rogan will ever dream of having, to this mission, this sacred mission. So anyway,
ain't no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I want to say rest in peace, D'Angelo. Black Messiah is still one of the best albums of the 21st century, and not often enough is it given the centrality it deserves. for listeners who don't know, he had been working on the 4th album with Raphael Sadiq, which is now going to be released posthumously, and doubtless it will be prophetic and brilliant. Dominique, last week, one of my message board posts while Attorney Austin was co-hosting was misconstrued as being disrespectful, and I just want to.
Oh, that was
I wanted to clarify my point. That was me. I'm thedemocracy.fun, and so I wanted to clarify my point, which is only intended to protect, defend, and protect, to uplift Kamala Harris, because when the choice for me is between any Bernie Sanders endorsed politician versus MVP Harris or anyone else, any member of the Congressional Black Caucus, or you, Dominique, or your dad, or Nan, y'all are who I am loyal to. And to my friends and fellow listeners, OG Kelly, Tanya Stovall, Happiness Donuts, and Fahima Sek, please know I am not here to defend or obsess over anything. I greatly admire all of your takes. My concern about Zohran Mamdani is not trifling, and it isn't personal. It's about honesty and accountability, the entire purpose of keeping it real. So if you will allow me, Dominique, I want to revisit something that happened on September 23rd, 2025 on the Rachel Maddow Show. It's about how MVP Harris handled Maddow's question about Zohran. So I'm going to read the exchange. Now, please consider the tone and subtext, okay? Maddow, here's Maddow, quote, arguably the fastest rising star right now in the Democratic politics is Zohran Mamdani. What do you think of him and his candidacy? Maddow asked Harris. Harris responds, quote, look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported. Maddow replies, do you endorse his candidacy? Here's what Harris says, quote, I support the Democrat in the race, sure, but let me just say this. He's not the only star. I hope we don't over-index on New York City and lose sight of the stars throughout our country. We've got a big tent and we've got a lot of stars. Now, Dominique, Rev, that is not a ringing endorsement. That is a diplomatic distancing. MVP Harris then immediately mentioned 2 other mayors to be, Barbara Drummond down in Mobile, Alabama, who I wish we would spend a lot more time talking about. She's running a beautiful campaign grounded in service and community. And also Helena Moreno in New Orleans, who just won her race 2 days ago. If you guys have not seen Helena Moreno's victory speech, I urge you to. She comes out onto the stage to Barry White's You're the First, the Last, My Everything before she even gets to the mic, and I'm crying. The way she embraced her gloriously diverse supporters on stage is pure catharsis. It radiates joy and authenticity, the kind of inclusive, spirit-filled energy that cannot be faked. And I'll be honest, that feeling, Rev, Dominique, that's the polar opposite of what I sense when I watch Mamdani's interview with Hassan Piker. That contrast, Moreno's democratic joy versus Mamdani's closed ideological posture, is exactly what I'm capturing in my next mashup video. And I'm going to be tagging Mamdani directly on X in the hope, however meek and feeble my account is on social media, that he, Mamdani, will finally take notice and maybe, just maybe, agree to come on Keeping It Real for a serious, good faith conversation. Because, Rev, Dominique, I am praying that Mamdani will reflect on how I see him vis-a-vis those Kamala Harris uplifted, Helena Moreno, Barbara Drummond, and MVP Harris herself. 3 women who embody joyful democratic leadership and who refuse to weaponize blame. And in conclusion, Mamdani continues to blame Kamala Harris for genocide. That is a morally grotesque position. Those with access to him, his campaign staff, his allies in media, and his ideological mentors need to stop enabling that framing. They must stop letting him pin Netanyahu's war crimes on MVP Harris. Thank you all so much for taking my call. Rev, stay safe. Dominique, stay strong. And I love you guys. Bless you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your call.
Hear that
Let's
music,
take
Rev?
a break. We got to take a break.
And we'll be right back, keeping it real. Sharpton. I'm in Atlanta, GA. Dominique is in New York at the corporate office. We'll be right back with you on the phones. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton and Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
Knew love like this before, 'cause I never knew love like this before.
Sounds so good. That was beautiful. Thank you, everyone. I am humbled and grateful to be here with you tonight. I love you too. I love you too. It seems like I've known Reverend Al Sharpton all my life. My mom was such a fan of his, and I've seen him through my life in LA at MCA Records. When I was there, he'd come through, you know, and get those people straight about our contracts and talk about that. And I haven't been honored a lot. Maybe this is my second time, and I'm 68 years old. And I've been in this business my entire life. I've never done what you would call a real job. But I am truly honored, and I'm thankful, and I love us. I love my black people. And I fight for us, and I want the women, the black women, to really know their worth. Know that they're queens. That's important to me. That's how my mother raised me. My mother was militant, I guess, when it wasn't trendy, yes. Because when I was a little girl, my mother and father would drive in Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, do or die. And when she would see police officers handling black children or a black boy or a girl, she would have my father stop and say, she'd get out of the car and she'd say, what's going on here? Wait a minute, what you doing? All the time. So it's natural that I'm that way because I'm so tired of seeing our black men beaten with handcuffs. They have handcuffs on. That's important to me. That's my fight. I want love in this world. We're living in some, I love you, I love you. I never knew love like this before. I can't sing because we just finished doing 3 shows back to back. And I flew in this morning and because Reverend Al wanted me to sing home. There's no way I could sing home, but okay. When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home. I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing. When that makes us tall grass bend into leaning, suddenly the raindrops that fall have a meaning. Sprinkling the sea makes it all clean. But thank you. Thank you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I love you. I love you with my life.
Stephanie Mills.
One, two, three, I got the feeling. Hey, baby, baby, I got the feeling. How I got that feeling, yeah. Hey, 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 got that feeling, y'all. Come on. Feeling, baby. Oh, I got the feeling, y'all. Can you put your hands together? I got the feeling. Oh, won't you say, baby, baby, I got that. Come on, sing it out. Baby, baby, come on. Can't hear you. Hey, hey. I got that. Thank you so much. My name is True Osborne. Humbled and honored.
Kamala Harris, they're disappointed in, including Zoran. And many that support Zoran has the right to their view of their not having done so, and clearly accusing people of genocide is a heavy charge, when clearly the alliance between the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, who was the one perpetrating the death in Gaza, and clearly as the Biden-Harris administration fought it, I think, charge on them. Having said that, though, I think that it is clearly you have to deal with Zoran and anyone else based on how they're running and who they're running against, and not lose sight of that. And those that he named who are very loyal and committed people on our live stream message board, have the right to their views. And that's why we keep it real. Everybody can talk about and say whatever they need to say, and let's try to respect.
I don't know. Rev is going
Yeah,
in
we
and
lost him.
out.
Right to vote.
Oh, there he is.
Those that take our right to vote, and those that are trying to not have a two-state solution in Palestine and Israel. And I think one of the things that was telling to me is that Netanyahu sincerely did not at all mention having a two-state solution. He said a lot of things, but he did not support the rights of Palestinians in his speech yesterday, and neither did Mr. Trump. So let's go on. It's back to you and the callers.
Let's go to Reverend Jacob, listening to us on line 1 from Philadelphia on WURD. Reverend Jacob, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
All right. Yeah, it's just Brother Jacob. People call me a reverend, but no, I'm just a brother trying to make it do what it do. But, Reverend Sharpton, you've got to be proud of Dominique. And I want to say, Sister Dominique, I'm so glad that you addressed, I think somebody on a message board that said we should sit this one out or something like that.
Yeah.
And you ain't no time. Look, we can't sit nothing down, and you know this. Now, your father, they say the Godfather was one of the hardest working men in show business. Your daddy is one of the hardest working servants for our people,
I know.
and he ain't sitting down. He ain't sitting down, so we ain't gonna sit down either. We ain't no time for us to sit down, But anyway, and to the D'Angelo family, man, he told us we need some of that brown sugar, and Reverend Al, you remember the picture that he took where he was shirtless on the album cover?
That's what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I definitely remember.
Look at it. He looked like my twin. 50 years ago, I was cut just like that, man. I was cut just like that. I thought they had stole one of my pictures when I seen it, But, hey, Rev, look. The Democrats, the Republicans got to see that the Democrats are fighting for their American rights. They need health care more than the Democrats, right? And
That's
for
right.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson to be hypocritical, saying and blaming the shutdown on the Democrats, everybody is not going to be bullied by him or the Republicans or the mega people into doing something, because for their, do they actually think that Republican people, after a while, won't see the hypocrisy and the ignorance in what these people are doing and blaming it on the Democrats? When the Democrats is, again, there's just as many red states that need these health care things as the blue states. But we're Americans, man, and that's a bad thing that they do. If you don't agree with them, well, you're the worst. And at the same time, Democrats are fighting for them as American people. I always hear the president say, I'm the president of the American people, not blue or red like y'all little children. And lastly, Reverend Al, I wish black people would stop belittling our leaders, such as Jeffries, Cory Booker, and the ones in Maryland. If you ain't got nothing good to say, just keep it to yourself. Be quiet. No matter how unqualified and bad these white leaders are, you don't hear them down in them. But I hear it too much, where some of our good leaders, they down you, Reverend Al.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this and what you're saying. I did not hear the caller that said to sit it out, but sitting it out is what put Donald Trump back in the White House. If more people had voted and not sat it out, and was not voting for Kamala Harris for whatever their reasons, They have the right to have their reasons, but let's look at the results. We have Donald Trump, who has shut the government down, who has said that he wants to end affirmative action, end diversity, equity, and inclusion, end the Voting Rights Act. He said this. He said it out loud. This is not guessing. This is not conjecture. And I think that sitting it out is a vote for them. The other thing I think that we need to be very clear on is that sometime callers that want to encourage people to sit out, and I'm not talking about everybody because some really feel that way, but some are people that have been put on by the right wing to try to discourage us not to vote. They know that most of us won't vote for Trump, so if they can get us not to vote at all, they know they win, and they win in the midterm elections. Lastly, there are different roles. That's why I think this documentary on Andrew Young that we're going to talk about tonight down here in Atlanta gives you a great example. There are different roles that people play in the struggle. Some march and do aggressive things, as I do. Some do commentary. Some are the diplomats to negotiate the deals. So when you criticize people like Hakeem and Cory Booker, one, you got to remember they are in office where they have to not only legislate for everybody, they've got constituents that in their districts and Cory in his state that are not just black. They must take care of blacks and everybody. And that doesn't make you weak, that makes you wise.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, your intelligent oldest daughter, she addressed that real good because she let us know we ain't finna sit down, and you know this, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your call. And Democracy.Fund is online. He did, Democracy.Fund made the comment online, and it's continuing on. So I just wanted to bring that in the conversation, Rev. He said, if more people have voted and more rich male influencers like Mamdani's friend Hassan Piker has supported Kamala Harris instead of equating Harris and Trump, we'd be living in an entirely different USA. And then went on to quote Alan Watts a couple of times, the truth is uncomfortable. People prefer their illusions.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, well said. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your call, Reverend Jacob. Reverend Sharpton, as he stated, is in Atlanta. And as we were talking, he was talking about this documentary coming out on Andrew Young. And just speaking to Democracy.Fund's comments and many others, including Reverend Jacobs, as they're taking history out of the schools, as we talked about this earlier today on the broadcast, these stories are going to really illuminate and you know, the struggle for us in terms of how we are dealing with things in this generation, and how we are writing these and telling these stories that we are making history every single day. And so I'm looking forward to that documentary on Andrew Young, and continuing, of course, to elevate and amplify these stories that have been pivotal moments in our movement as we continue to move the struggle forward. So thank you, Rev.
Thank you.
We're going to hear that music soon, but we can go to another caller. Oh, I hear the music, Rev. Let's take the break.
Let's take the break. Keeping it real. Sharpton in the ATL. Sharpton in New York. Be right back.
man of his community, the Reverend Howard Hundley.
Together. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. I'm so glad. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. Can I get a witness? I'm so glad. Trouble don't last always.
Joining James Brown, Muhammad Ali, and myself now from New York City is the Reverend Al Sharpton. And Mr. Brown, James, I'd like to ask you about this young man, how you came to meet him, and what the National Youth Movement, which he represents, is all about. Tell me something about that.
Teaching young kids the right way to go, and the things to be involved in education. Don't be a dropout, which is one thing I'm very much behind. Unless kids have guidance, they have no place to go. And the idea is to try to mold them. I mean, we think of anything, we think of it as a baby. And what we mold them to be is what it will be later on. He used to stand at my back door, and he believed in what I said, the Don't Be a Dropout program, and the fact of helping kids and giving them the right idol and the right image to go with, cleaning, grooming, and wanting to work, wanting to be something. I started as a kid, a juvenile delinquent, you know, and everything. Had no model. And I was able to be a model for a young man like this. And what he turned out to be, he's a minister, and he preaches the right thing, and I'm for him 1,000%. I'm for everything he's about.
Mr. Sharpton, how national right now is the National Youth Movement? Is it something new? Has it been going on for a while? Do you have a stated number of members? Tell me something about it.
Well, we don't really get into a numbers game, because that's been a trick that has been played for the last 20 years. What we're basically interested in doing is saying to young people of impoverished backgrounds that there are people like a Muhammad Ali and a James Brown that represents hope to us. Because these people, despite all of the social odds, despite the unemployment statistics, despite the lack of education in their day, were able to grow and be something that we can be proud of. A man like me didn't have a father at home, but I had a James Brown to look up to and would want to sing and dance like him, or Muhammad Ali, who I saw stand up and give away millions of dollars of stamps to the government so that I would have a right to come 10 or 20 years later and try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is there are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
You say hopeless, though. Not hopeless.
Well, let's say, well, to them, to them 10, 11, 12-year-old kids,
it's never hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. It's never hopeless. When I got 8 to 16 years for breaking and entering as a kid, because I was hungry, and here I am today, it's not hopeless. Don't say hopeless. Then we're carving out. I don't believe in hopeless. Don't you think it's hope? If you believe in something, try it. No such hopeless. I don't believe in hopeless. We're not going to go with that. And I think he's not about teaching them how to get out and fight for themselves. That's what it's about. No, it's not hopeless. Everybody has a cause and everything, but everybody want to live. And I think living is what we're about. We're not going to teach dying. Hopeless is
Okay,
dying.
I agree with you 100%, James. But what I'm trying to ask here is simply saying you too can be a James Brown or a Muhammad Ali. Is that enough to give a kid who's hungry, who doesn't know where his next meal is coming?
I'll say that.
Give him somewhere to go.
I think it's awful weak to tell a kid you can be a James Brown, one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and me, one of the greatest fighters. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that need a break. You can't have that many great people. But they can get educated, they can go to school, they can learn. I'd like to say one thing. We have crime today, it's a big problem. I think they took a national vote on what the people want the government to spend most of the money on, and crime was over national defense. Worrying about Russia, China, outside enemies, they're worrying about inside crime. We have crime today, all type prostitution, murder, exploitation, degradation, and wars of all kinds. And I'm gonna tell you why everything's happening. And I think if you're intelligent, you agree with it. If we were riding an airplane and the two pilots died for some reason, is there anybody in this room that can go in the cockpit, pick up the radio, start working it, bring the plane in, depressurize it as it land, and make it, and late at night on a stormy day? You couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, but if you learn how to fly, or if they show you how to fly, you can. Since God made the world and God made us, He sent the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, sent Moses, Jesus, Noah, to show us how to run the world. And God left His laws. If we don't follow His laws, then we crash.
Let me say this, though, Mr. Snyder, in response to your question to Mr. Brown, Mr. Ali. Yes, it is enough to begin with showing them an example, because before you get to education, you need motivation. If you don't have motivation to get out of the bed, you won't make school or the party. And what we try to do by showing a James Brown or Muhammad Ali is not that you can be a great champion maybe like Ali or a great entertainer like James Brown, but if you use the same initiative that they did to make him get up 5 in the morning and run 10 miles and just have a dream and to come back 3 times and accomplish that dream, to have more hits than anybody in the world, even when the music world wouldn't give him credit for it in terms of a James Brown. If you had that initiative to keep working at whatever it is that you're going to do, you can succeed. And what we're saying to them is you may not reach the plateau of public prominence of them, but if you can reach the personal discipline and personal motivation of them, you can reach a plateau in your life. Because it's not about looking for a government handout, it's about looking for a way out, as James Brown said.
All right, and then how receptive are the young people that you tell this to?
Very receptive.
Really?
Very receptive. Very receptive. I think that people have misunderstood that most people of impoverished and depressed areas are not looking for the government to give them something. They just want to change.
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, live from Atlanta, Georgia. Dominique Sharpton in our corporate headquarters in New York. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And Sunday I joined the world in mourning the passing of D'Angelo, and a great artist, and may God bless his family at this time. I don't care how long you suffer with an illness, the loss is still a severe loss to his family and his fans. And Dominique, I'm surprised at you. You know I get up every morning and work out, and you can tell them that I look like D'Angelo on that cover, but I won't take my shirt off.
As
I
the
won't.
young
I
people
don't
say,
want to show off.
TMI, Rev. TMI. No, but you look good, Rev. You look good.
I'm not young no more, but I know what TMI means, so don't, be careful. Be careful. I'm coming home.
We are taking your calls across the country. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. I wanted to pull up some of the message board comments. Jalen, if you can help us. But Red, let's go back to the phones. We've got Flavor King holding on, listening to us from Atlanta on line 2. Flavor King, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
God bless. Precious freedom fighter,
Dominique, and Supreme Freedom Fighter, Brother Al Sharpton, and all the beautiful people. I wanted to talk about the shutdown, the government shutdown, from another perspective. Do y'all remember the one interview Prince did where he said he looked up in the sky and he saw a lot of chemtrails all over the sky. And the next thing he knew, everybody was fighting. Do both of y'all remember that interview? He only did two. At least two. He might have did more than that. But do y'all remember that interview that he did where he said he looked up in the sky and he saw chemtrails, chemicals in the sky? Y'all don't remember that? All right. Well, let me
remember that.
Anyway,
I remember that.
Well, that's what I need you to say now, brother. All right. First of all, the government will tell you one part of it, that this is water vapor exhaust particles from the jet fuel being burned that we see. But tic-tac-toe all over the sky, we know is chemicals, trails from the chemicals coming out of the back of that jet. But what my point is, since the shutdown, the sky is beautiful all over the country. I've been calling everywhere. Dominique, let me know about New York. That's the only place I didn't call to see. Well, you know, there's a lot of places I didn't call, but look up in the sky. If you see one chemtrail that's longer than 10 feet, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing in the sky. So that proves that the people were right. They are spraying us. We see the same normal jet, and we see what's behind them, nothing but a little exhaust, and then it disappears. Ain't no tic-tac-toe in the sky nowhere. All right, the Congress, I see also today I found out that they trying to pass a bill where they won't do it ever again in certain states. All right, now they're doing it in Georgia. I've been seeing it.
Forensic accountant said they're doing it in Jacksonville. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So you're doing the research. So my point is this. When the shutdown is over, they're going to start back spraying us, Brother Al. And what they are spraying is particles.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to say it. They're spraying metal on us. They're spraying nanobots on us. Just Google anything I'm saying, beautiful people, what a nanobot is and when it get into you, what it can do when a bunch of them get in you. And psychological drugs, they trying to control us. I know y'all don't believe this kind of stuff, but these people ain't playing with us. They are demonic. And my pastor say they also blood they putting on us. All right? But we can stop this if we say now, all right? We see ain't nothing in the sky. That means the government was funding this stuff. Now, in federal funding. And so the federal funding cut out, and we don't see nothing but beautiful skies. They're saying they're seeding the clouds. They try to make it rain or whatever. All of this stuff, y'all can see. It's easy to see now what I'm talking about, beautiful people. And Bill Gates, he's trying to block out the sun. I know y'all don't believe it, but just Google it or go to your favorite search engine because, the TV ain't going to tell you. The news ain't going to say it. But I'm thinking to go in front of the news station and just stand out there with a sign and tell everybody to look up in the sky and just see that the sky is clear all over the country so we can stop this stuff, y'all. And I'm just saying.
Well, I think that the way you stop it, Flavor King, thank you for your call. The way you stop it is to put the people in charge that are not going to engage in this mass poisoning of our people and of all people. And I think that I would not put past some people to eliminate, particularly in our community, and not only in the sky. Look at where they put the environmental poisons and all of the things that would pollute children. They are disproportionately in our community, and that is done by regulators. That is licensed by elected officials.
Mr. Dominique, I got you turned on. I got Reverend Walrun, too.
Would be more conscious of who we put in office and that we have some say-so about it by using our vote. Thank you for your call.
Thank you for your call. I wanted
Dominique.
to just mention Reverend Walrun is on, Rev. Happy to be joined by
We
Reverend.
have no. You got to say it right. It's the Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron, senior pastor of the First Corinthian Baptist Church of Harlem, and a member of the National Board of National Action Network. And I'm in the town he went to Morehouse. I'm in Atlanta and going to Clark University tonight with Andrew Young and Rachel Maddow for our fireside chat. But give Reverend Walron his props. He stayed in school almost as long as you've been alive. So make sure you say Reverend Dr. Michael.
Reverend Doctor, my apologies.
Listen, let me say this. I heard the last caller. I'm not going to dispute. I think that there are a lot of people who live on social media, and social media abounds in conspiracy theory. But I'm gonna give you something that happened, Rev, in Dominic last year. I went to a mall in Jersey. A man, there were these chemical trails from jets in the sky. And so he says to me, he didn't know who I was. He said, and we were both parking and get out the car and we see these trails in the sky. And he says to me, he said, brother, you know, they trying to poison us. I said, how? He said, by dropping chemicals. And where we were was in Jersey. It was not a black area. It was a definitely mixed area. Now, here was the funny thing, Rev. He said to me, you know, they're dropping chemicals on us in the sky. Now, Dominique, while he's saying this to me, he's smoking a cigarette.
Oh, Lord.
I said to him, I said, brother, you inhaling chemicals right now. You smoking chemicals right now. And you trying to tell me that they dropping chemicals out the sky while you smoking a cigarette. I said, brother, that don't make sense. He goes, yeah, you right. I said, yeah, think about this. Nobody is forcing you to smoke that cigarette. I said, nicotine is an addictive chemical, brother. And you trying to convince me of the chemicals out the sky when you inhaling the chemical that's problematic for your health. It's just why I find here's what I will tell you though, Rev, is that I get tons of Instagram messages from people all the time about videos. And I will say this, and I don't think people talk about this enough. There are many elders in our communities who are buying in to a lot of these videos on social media, in part because they don't understand AI. The amount of times I've had to say, Dominic, the members and people who know me, hey, this video you just sent me is AI generated. It's not real. Right? I think there are many people who don't distinguish between what is real and what is not, and who believe. And even though it may say AI generated, they're not looking at that. You know, they're just looking at what the video is. And I think a lot of social media, especially AI generated, preys on people who don't know the distinction between what is real and what is AI generated. You know, and I think we have to be mindful of that, because social media is really sending false messages for people who are vulnerable to believing AI-generated videos, and we don't talk enough.
No, and I think that's important, because they have AI-generated videos now, having Dr. King at a fast food joint, and other things, to where Bernice King came out and said, Bernice King, his daughter, will y'all please stop distorting my father and disrespecting his legacy? Because these people have no respect for anything. And I think what you're saying is absolutely necessary for us to say.
Absolutely.
But the problem is that you've got a generation of young people who don't know enough about Dr. King and believe some of these videos. Look, I done seen videos with Dr. King DJing in clubs.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes, sir.
Wow.
DJing in a club, like, it's insane the amount of videos or how about this one, Rev? I saw someone sent me the other day of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X sitting down at a rib shack eating ribs.
Lord,
wow.
have mercy.
My God.
I gotta send you that one. Rev. It's wild,
send that to me.
But people don't know how to differentiate between what is real and what is not real.
Rev,
But when you have a clown in the White House, it's hard to distinguish the reality. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Sharpton, and Walron. Sound like a law firm, but it is freedom fighters. We'll be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say, you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor, who stayed right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them, perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
All over the world today, people are gathered in love vigils to celebrate the life of a man that taught the world how to love. People may be wondering why there's such an emotional outburst, but you would have to understand the journey of Michael to understand what he meant to all of us. For these that sit here as the Jackson family, a mother and father with 9 children that rose from a working class family in Gary, Indiana. They had nothing but a dream. No one believed in those days that these kind of dreams could come true. But they kept on believing, and Michael never let the world turn him around from his dreams. I first met Michael around 1970, Black Expo, Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood by this family till now. And from that day, as a cute kid to this moment, he never gave up dreaming. It was that dream that changed culture all over the world. When Michael started, it was a different world. But because Michael kept going, because he didn't accept limitations, because he refused to let people decide his boundaries, he opened up the whole world. In the music world, he put on one glove, pulled his pants up, and broke down the color curtain, where now our videos are shown and magazines put us on the cover. It was Michael Jackson that brought blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos together. It was Michael Jackson that made us sing "We Are the World" and feed the hungry long before Live Aid. Because Michael Jackson kept going, he created a comfort level where people that felt they were separate became interconnected with his music. And it was that comfort level that kids from Japan and Ghana and France and Iowa and Pennsylvania got comfortable enough with each other to later it wasn't strange to us to watch Oprah on television. It wasn't strange to watch Tiger Woods golf. Those young kids grew up from being teenage, comfortable fans of Michael to being 40 years old and being comfortable to vote for a person of color to be the president of the United States of America. Michael did that. Michael made us love each other. Michael taught us to stand with each other. There are those that like to dig around mess, but millions around the world, we're going to uphold his message. It's not about mess, it's about him.
Network Southeast Regional Office. Do that on live stream.
That's me sitting at my desk here in Atlanta on my way to Clark University, where tonight we will do the fireside chat with the one and only Honorable Andrew Young. And Rachel Maddow and I will have that chat with him and joined by John Hope Bryant at 6:30. One of the things that we discussed this week is the fact that we are dealing in a time that whatever people believe, whichever their approach to God is, we need to deal with the tenets of our belief, and that we're dealing with people that have no belief, no moral code, no values. And I think too often we get into denominational disputes, whether one is Baptist or Methodist or Presbyterian or Episcopalian, or whether one is Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, chaos, whatever the case may be. The fact of the matter is people relate to God in different ways. But if you had a meeting of Jesus and Muhammad and the Buddha, they would not disagree. I don't understand why there's all this acrimony and disagreement among those that claim to follow them. You, as one of not only the leading pastors in the country, but a leading theologian by training and by life experience, talk about the intersection of religions.
Yeah, Rev. I think what the real issue, part of the issue is, not the issue, but part of the issue is that there's so many people who are infatuated with the idea that their religion has, and I put this in quotes, the truth. People function as though their particular religious preference or orientation has the truth and the other orientations are not true, which then starts the whole back and forth between, well, my faith is stronger and realer, more real than your faith. I think it's ridiculous. Truth has always historically been relative, and we don't want to admit that. And somehow we think because we believe our religion is true, all the other religions are false. But truth is relative. Truth is always based on social, cultural, and even religious context that it becomes powerful. But as you said, if you put Jesus, Muhammad, and Buddha together, they will have all kinds of agreements. Yeah, because foundationally to these religions are ideas of love and the treatment of human beings and how do we get along together. But it's those who seek to use religion as a tool of divisiveness who always look for the things that are not held in common to mean that they are then tools or representations of what is divisive or different. That's not a problem either, because there's a difference between Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, you call the roll. There's a difference. But the difference that exists wasn't meant to be violently divisive in any way. And so I think that's part of the problem. I told this to someone this past week, and I was in L.A. I said, you have so many religions interested in what is the truth, while the same people who practice them are full of lies. So you lying, but worried about what the truth is. Well, you're not worried about the truth when you're busy lying. So why are you infatuated with the truth with regard to their religion when the truth does not exist within you?
And if you go to our scriptures, those of us that are Christian, you and I are Baptists, and Dominique is part-time Baptist, part-time Methodist, but we can meet about that in private. But if you go to our scriptures, Jesus didn't denounce those that were of different faith. He denounced the hypocrites of our faith that claim to follow the word. And he never went in a Buddhist temple or a mosque and with a whip. He went into his own place, the synagogue, and say, you've turned my father's house from a house of prayer to a den of thieves. So we need to be accountable to what we say we believe in and not be hypocrites, rather than trying to judge other people and how they relate to God and how they relate to a moral code.
Absolutely. This goes back to my premise, Rev. Many people who are Christian do not take seriously the teachings of Jesus. The teachings of Jesus, if adhered to, changes how we engage one another, how we engage people of different faiths, how we even engage people who don't think like us, act like us, and how we even engage people who we deem as enemies. What's interesting to me is that everybody wants to be a Christian until you have to do what Jesus says.
Right.
Everybody wants to be a Christian until you have to honor the teachings of Jesus. Now, here's the thing. I was in L.A. this past weekend with our church out there, and I saw a church that had a billboard, and it talked about "We preach the truth." And when they did that, underneath it was a bunch of letters of Paul, Galatians, Philippians, and I think Colossians. And I said, this is interesting. We preach the truth, and the scriptural backing were the writings of Paul, not the teachings of Jesus. And that's the truth of the matter. Many of the teachings of Paul is what guides Christianity as a whole, as an institution. Doctrinally, we're shaped by many of Paul's teachings and not by Jesus' teachings. So for me, it's hard to say I'm a Christian. And well, let me flip that. The truth of the matter is most Christians should be able to say, you know what, that I've honored certain teachings that make me a great Pharisee but a poor disciple. And so that happens across the board. We honor certain teachings that shape our doctrine, but don't necessarily honor the teachings of Jesus. That's what I've been really teaching and preaching for the past 2 decades, is that what does Jesus say? Not what would Jesus do, what would Jesus say, and where would Jesus be? Because oftentimes Jesus' geographical location determines the nature of his engagement with his people. We miss that completely, Rev.
Trisha saying on the message board, Dominique, that part. I see you, Trisha. And
he trying to come at my bedside
democracy.
tabernacle culture out here, but that's
Yeah,
okay, Trisha. Thanks for having my back.
The democracy.fund says Jesus was talking to my Father, and I think that is important. Jesus was talking to my Father, unfortunately a man who has Bible study, but has refused to speak to me due to my refusal to drop the issue of his voting record. No, you need to call people into accountability, Disco. And I think that I cannot hold you responsible for what I believe, but I can hold you responsible for what you say you believe. And I think that you're right to challenge people if they're hypocritical. Let me give it back to you, Dominique, to go to the phones and to our message board. Though I got the message board, I'm at Nan, Southeast, so I'm looking at you, Dominique.
I think we
don't know what that T-shirt says you got on.
Brown Sugar Babe in memory of D'Angelo,
All right,
Rev.
I see it.
D'Angelo, Brown Sugar.
I see it now.
All right.
All right.
I think
Just
we're gonna
making
get.
sure you
I
ain't
think
got
we're gonna
crazy.
get cut off, Rev. But we can go to Amelia. Amelia's listening to us from Georgia on line 4. Amelia, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're on.
I'm Amelia Riley. Good afternoon.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon.
I'm nice and talk to you for the first time calling in. Good to see you, speak to you, Al Sharpton, my first time calling in. I've been reaching out to your inbox. I just want to know what else could I be doing to speak to the people to get out and come together and vote, especially for the right people, the right candidates to be in the seat to do something about this injustice system that we have here in Greene County.
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for your call. One of the things you can do is organize, if it's nobody but your block, and start talking to them about what it is, why voting is important, why everything that is determined by your city, your county, and all is based on who is the officials. People do not understand that voting is not pie in the sky. Voting is what's on the ground that you and I live in. And you can work with us. There's a meeting here at the National Action Network Southeast Regional Office where I'm sitting right now at 632 Peoples Street in Atlanta, 10 o'clock this Saturday morning. They're having a relaunch of the chapter right here. And you can work with us and the National Action Network Atlanta office because we're looking for people. I don't care if you've been with us 30 years or you just come Saturday. We want everybody's voice in, all hands on deck, 10 toes down, because we are at war when they're trying to take back everything. I'm not talking about some things, everything that we have fought for, and Donald Trump is saying it out loud. You don't have to guess about it. He's telling you
what his agenda is. And we need to wake up and go to work. Let's take a break. I hear the music. Let's take a break, Dominique. Keeping it real. Sharpton in Atlanta. Sharpton in New York. Walround in Harlem and all over the world. You heard him say he's been back and forth to California. He's covering the whole country. We'll be right back.
Keeping it real.
Baby face.
Every step I take, you will be there. Every step I make, we'll be together. Every step I take, you will be there. Every step I make, we'll be together. Every step I take.
Whew. Thank you so much. I was thinking I was going to prepare a speech, but I can't read those things anymore. Name's Babyface, not Baby Body. But I wanted to, you made me sound so good with those words. I was like, that was me? I was like, when I look at my life and I think of the music and everything that I've done, I used to say that I don't know where it came from. I don't know where the words come from. I don't know where the music comes from. I don't know how I got here where I am, but that's not true. God got me here. This is and it becomes more clear to me every day that's why I'm here. And I don't even know how I ended up standing here, except for the fact that I ran into Al at the Essence. He was walking in the room, and I said, I got to go say hello. And he said, I want to honor you. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, I want to honor you. I said, really? Yep. And here I am standing here, and I can well, thank you. I always want to do this, Michael. I love you too. Sorry. But I think of moments like this, I can't help but just think of how proud my mom would be for me standing here. I have to say that just to be standing here and to be invited by Al Sharpton, and I want you guys to really think about this man who invited me here and how he has been fighting the fight for us all of these years. I don't think we give him enough credit. I don't think we give him enough love. Sometimes you just get used to people and you think, well, that's just Al. No. He's more than that. I want y'all to give him really love. Come on, let's give him. It's very true. Because I can remember times, I'm 67 years old, I can remember times in Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah, it's true, I'm 67. And I can remember times in Indianapolis when I was growing up, and there were places before I was 5 years old that I could not go to because I was black. And I remember how civil rights, how that changed everything for me and for my life, and that I'm standing here today because of all of those changes, and I was able to do the kind of music that I do and do everything because of those things happened. And so for me to accept an award like this, because I've never gotten an award like this before, and so I really appreciate it, and I'm just so thankful, and I thank my mom for giving me the sense to always be humble with my life and to never think that it's all about me. And so like I said, I didn't prepare a speech. I always just wanted to speak from my heart. And I'm speaking from my heart, and I want to tell you once again, Al Sharpton, you are a blessing to us all, and I thank you for inviting me for this, and thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
of our ministry to entertainment. Or who can hoop the loudest? Who could run around the pulpit more? Or who got the dresses fancy and don't deal with the ministry? Jesus healed more people than he preached to. Because there is in the healing your message. They followed Jesus because he healed a woman with the issue of blood. They followed Jesus because Jesus saw a blind man named Bartimaeus. A lot of us would have dismissed him because he was a broke, poor, homeless, a blind man. How do you know he was broke, Reverend? Because they say he was begging. But he understood what he was doing because he heard that Jesus was passing by. And when Jesus got close enough, he said, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. They kept telling Jesus, let's go, look, we got a schedule, we got people to see. He said it again, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. And when he did it the third time, Jesus stopped and went and healed the blind man. Now, what I get out of that scripture, Bishop Daughtry, is that the blind man told Jesus, if you are who you say you are, you're going to stop and see me. And if you stop and see me, you will confirm who you are. But when we are pastoring and leading in communities with bad health, we cannot be the followers and representatives of Jesus and walk by people that are sick and we not
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. I'm live in the Southeast Region Office of National Action Network in Atlanta. Dominique Sharpton live at the corporate office in New York. And the Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron at First Corinthian Baptist Church, the mega church in Harlem. Let me say by way of announcements, don't forget, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And on the plane coming down, I got our ratings for the weekend, and we beat CNN both nights. You showed up big time. And keep supporting the show. They sent me the notice on yesterday, Dr. Walron, that there are few black hosts now on TV. I'm one of maybe 3. Most black hosts are on panels now. But to have a single host, black, I'm a rarity. And I'm the longest one on TV. I've been hosting Politics Nation 14 years. There's nobody in the history of TV, black, that hosted an opinion show that long. That's because of you that are watching. And people stop me in airports, white and black and Latino, and say, I watch your show. Why? Because I try to bring the people on that matter. A lot of people bring on their friends and who want to show how smart they are. I try to, like last weekend, we had Senator Schumer on and the head of the Congressional Black Caucus and Rachel Maddow. I want people in the mix because people need to be questioned and challenged about why are we in a lockup? What does this really mean that's going on in the Middle East? What is Trump really doing? Why is black unemployment higher now than it was a year ago? And he said that he was going to bring back the black jobs. These are the things we discuss. Make sure you watch it. Also, you that are in the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally in New York, in Harlem. Every Saturday morning I'm there. Now, I know some of us, I heard Rev was in Atlanta. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be at the rally Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. You that are not in the New York area, do what Ms. Edith does down here. Watch it live on live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can watch it on Impact Television. And you that are in the Southeast, be here at the Southeast Regional Office, 632 People Street, at 10 o'clock on this Saturday morning. They're having a relaunch meeting. You should be here. Don't talk about it. Be about it. Dr. Walron, what's going on at First Corinthian Baptist Church?
Rev, as I told you last In September, we have Blue Sunday, but on the 26th, we have Pink Sunday coming up, which is our Breast Cancer Awareness Sunday. And we'll have mobile units out here doing breast cancer screening, testimonials. You know, at FCBC, we're committed to wellness and health. And we do this by providing screenings. But we do something that you're familiar with, Rev. It's called the Blueprint for Wellness, based on the Choose Healthy Life that you're one of the chairs of. And so we constantly do screenings, for medical screenings, for people to know where they are. But this is big for us. We've done Blue Sunday, Pink Sunday, and then in 2026, we're actually honoring people with primary immunodeficiency diseases. Why? Because I suffer from that. And so we're always trying to raise awareness and also do screenings, because a lot of things that many of our people in our community perish from are actually treatable, but we don't have a history of going consistently to the doctor. So Pink Sunday is on October 26th, and it'll be a day when we'll pink out the sanctuary. Everybody will be in pink, just like we did Blue Sunday the last Sunday of September. So we're excited about that, Rev.
All right, and that's exciting news. Dominique, let's go back to the phones or to the message board.
We've got Tommy holding on, Rev, line 6 from Chicago. Tommy, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
Well, I can only say to the three of you, my name is no longer Tommy. It's Reverend Reality. And I say that based upon, seriously, only God could have put me in front of the three of you and know my heart and know how much all three of you have meant to me over the years. Rev, I started with you by calling myself challenging you and giving you a piece of my mind, and you said eloquently, when you learn something, come back and holler at me, young man. And then you showed up, Reverend Walrun, and it is a shame that the people, to the point that you were pointing out earlier, Rev, when you said, unless we have the type of character and individual such as a Reverend Dr. Reverend Walrun, this is one of the reasons why. And then there's your lovely daughter, who I watched you groom, as well as other members of NAN. And speaking to her is talking to you. So when I say on this day, I wouldn't, you can't say you don't care, but I know this day, as surely as I sat down as a servant at Michael Jordan's restaurant, and I was the only black one there, and I saw the fruit of Islam line the steps, and who was sitting at the table? The Honorable Elijah, Minister Farrakhan, I'm sorry, and nothing like it. And he asked me if I knew who he was, and I said, of course I know who you are. And all I can say to all of you is this is the moment in the time. Because they told you to sit down, Rev, at the election of a black man. You know, as I close, President Obama got the Nobel Peace Award because, along with my stinking thinking, I'm quite sure nobody in the world believed that America would ever vote a black man into the presidency of this country. And it was such a celebratory time that everyone believed, to the point that the man was, I don't care what you got to say, all I can say is thank him, thank his wife, thank his children, because they are epitome of the principles of those who came before us, and they looked up and said, we are somebody. As I simply close, I simply say this to everyone who's a principled person in America, especially those of us are black. This is the moment in time to come out from under your rocks, these rabbit holes that you done ran down. I'm sorry you see chemtrails in the sky. I'm sorry you on all this crazy stuff that you're doing. But remember this, if it had not been for the old, there could never be any new. And I know the individuals who died in Chicago that I could speak to the three of you at such a moment in time as this would just simply say, hell yeah. Now, you know y'all can't cuss, but Reverend Reality can. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for your.
I think that you are beautiful, what you say, and I think it is important, Reverend Walron, that we salute one another in our truths, and I appreciate Reverend Reality, aka Tommy. I appreciate those Tricia and Leslie Jennings, all that come on our message board, because these are the people. And you know, one of the things that you'll get out of this documentary with Andrew Young and from the session tonight where we do the fireside chat is it was not a majority of people that fought to get us our rights. It was always the dedicated minority of our community that paid the price, and then the majority were the ones that benefited from it. You know, even at the biggest march they had in that era, the March on Washington in '63, they had 250,000 people, and Ava Randolph called that march. Dr. King was just one of the speakers. We never had a million-man march till '95, so it's never been everybody. So don't be discouraged. You go with what those that are willing to stand up, and you keep standing up. There's a scripture in the Bible where Gideon was told by God, you have too many, bring them down to the water and tell them lap water like a dog, and those that lap, take them with you. I can do more with 300 than you can do with the thousands you have. And we need committed people now, because these people that we are fighting are serious and lethal, and they're not playing, and they should not be played with. In 8 months in office, this man has not only shut down the government, he's taken away DEI. They're trying to take away the Affordable Care Act, which will lead to 22 million people losing their health insurance. They talk about Obama didn't do nothing. Then what are they undoing if Obama didn't do anything? So clear, and a lot of us went, well, what did Obama do? And you're running around with health insurance now that Obama did. So I think that what he's saying is a lot of truth. And I think you, Dr. Walron, know it's always been the few that had to pay the price for the many.
I think, Rev, that's always the case. I think there are those who sacrifice and those who put themselves out, but it's never about, listen, a few years ago we said something here at FCBC. It is bigger than you. I think everything we do in this effort for justice is always bigger than ourselves. It's when we lose sight is when we think it's about ourselves. No, it's about those who are to come and honoring those who have passed, but speaking truth to power, believing that our efforts will pay off, and also trusting this moment. This is a tremendous moment. A lot is going on, but this is the moments where they say only when it's dark enough do we see stars. And I believe the stars are about to shine, Rev.
That's right. And I believe that as well. You know, in order for you to come and show your real faith and standing is when you have good opposition. We would have never known David if there wasn't a Goliath.
Right.
It's the Goliaths that has to be brought down that makes the David.
This call is being recorded.
Absolutely.
And let me say to Evangelist Ramsey, I see her on the board saying, amen. I see the mayor, Rodney Jones, the mayor of Queensbridge Houses, and I hear the music. I know we're out of time. And Dominique, thanks for sitting in with us and sitting in for the whole show. I'm in Atlanta. Again, I'll be at Clark University with Rachel Young and John Hope Bryant tonight, 6:30. And then I'll be on the next thing smoking, headed back to New York. I'll be on tomorrow. Let me thank Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.